All right, I think we're going to get started. Thank you for coming. My name is Andrius Benokraitis. I run the Ansible technical marketing team. So all my people were the people, all the shenanigans, all the funny people you saw in the keynotes, the Ansiblefest keynotes. So those are my guys. They're pretty hilarious. They're fun to work with. So, and I'll let Chad introduce himself.
Chad Ferman. I'm the product manager responsible for technical delivery of the product. So all the things that you get and all the things that you want, talk to me.
All right, so we're going to do a quick, we like polls here to get everyone juiced up after a wonderful lunch. How many of you are VMware customers today? Or use VMware? How about that? Wow. Holy smokes. Okay, how many of you are here because you've been told to move off VMware? Okay, so we're in the Ansible business unit, and we're going to keep it raw. We don't keep it, we are unfiltered. We do full, we'll do the stuff. So go ahead, Chad, introduce yourself.
Yeah. So I was in you guys' exact place 3 years ago. So I was the enterprise architect for ExxonMobil for automation, Kubernetes, cloud, etc. And I got told the same thing. Our costs are going up. What do we do? Go to the next slide because this is my favorite slide.
But before that, the reason we would not be on this stage today had it not been for this, right? Neither of us would be here talking about this right now if it wasn't for this. Exactly.
Yeah.
Phones are ringing off the hook. They're like, get us off this stuff.
Your boss heard that you're here. They're calling.
Yeah,
they're like, hey,
exactly.
Can you film this?
All right. So, why is there so much attention, right? The elephant in the room.
Yeah. And we're going to keep this interactive. So like anytime you want to jump in,
So obviously, tongue in cheek, yes. Everyone knows Jetsons. I don't know how many people have actually seen the Jetsons. It's been a while. Yeah. I love this GIF. This is exact. I saw this. I was like, this is it. We know that with the Broadcom acquisition of VMware and enacting a lot of these changes, there's been changes in ownership. Obviously, there's been changes in pricing and packaging, which have affected a lot of the things around pricing as well as partnerships as well. You probably heard something in the news, some AWS things this morning or yesterday have also cascading through. So partnerships are really, really, really big deal for VMware as well. So
we're going to walk you through kind of what this looks like, and just, I think everybody here, everybody raise their hands. How many people have had to deal with the network team before? Wait, is anybody here from the network team? Okay, good. We're good.
But be honest.
How many people have had to deal with the storage team before? That kind of went away a little bit with vSAN. I get that. But all of these different pieces for a virtualization stack are still there, whether you're doing it with VMware, whether you're doing it in the cloud. Yes, they've made it an API, but guess what? It's still the same stack.
And what year is it? And we're still doing this, right? This is still a big deal. This is not everything is AI, but all of these things still, people have VMware, they have VMs for 10, 15, 20 years, and we have lots of people still working on these things.
They're not going away. So one of the things that we like to talk about with this is really getting to that next generation approach. So the way that people did it before and the way that people are doing it today are kind of the same still. There's a lot of people going in and clicking in a UI. Hopefully we've evolved a little bit further in getting it into automation. But the way we're kind of thinking about it is whether you're going to, say, Red Hat Virtualization, or you're going to AWS, or you're going to Nutanix, everything for us should start with some sort of form, whether it be going directly through Ansible or through ServiceNow or your ITSM ticket, and really getting to that self-service provisioning. Because how many of us like to actually log into the vSphere console and spin up VMs? No hands going up.
But we're automation people, right? So we're standing on this stage. You probably have been, if you've been to a bunch of other, there's lots of virtualization topics going on at Summit. This is probably the only one where you're going to get a view of it from the sysadmin side, from the Ansible side. People who actually are running the VMware shops using Ansible or not, right? So Ansible is been, the bread and butter is IT operations, right? VMware is IT operations. So we want to actually give you a good idea about how Ansible Automation Platform can actually help you migrate quickly and easily onto Red Hat OpenShift Virtualization, hopefully, or anything else if that doesn't fit, right? So there's lots of other things there. If you can't use OpenShift Virtualization, Ansible is also pervasive in those means.
And then maybe you can actually talk to those guys over the network side and get them out of the basement, and maybe get them to start actually automating their stuff too, so we can actually get ports. And I'm making this joke as I have network administrators sitting next to me.
Oh. Yeah, I pretend. But we walk into this. So why don't we talk a little bit, Chad, about what do we mean by mission critical virtualization with AAP?
So I think everybody's heard AI and mission critical 1,000 times at this point throughout the conference.
Burned in your brain.
Every time that I say mission critical, I'm pretty sure one of my bosses gets $1.
You're gonna. Some people are gonna get tattoos. It's gonna happen. Hopefully. So.
But these are the things that always scared me and kept me up at night and got us all woken up in the middle of the night, because how many people used to carry a pager? How many people know what a pager? No, right.
Again, what year is it? Okay, we're gonna go way back.
But when you're talking about virtualization I can't even talk about virtualization operations. All of that should not be done manually anymore. It should be something that is codified, that is done the same way every time. Versus I still to this day meet with people and they're like, yeah, every machine we build is custom. And it's like, okay, well, how is it custom? Oh, it's in a spreadsheet. It's like, cool. Every line of that spreadsheet becomes a variable. It becomes an Ansible playbook. This now becomes mission critical, as you have designed your systems to be the same and consistent at all times. And getting that kind of mindset and getting to a point where you're deploying, and let's get crazy, retiring VMs. Wait, hold on. How many people have retired a VM ever? Okay, good. We're having the right conversation.
Good, okay. We're in step 2 of the 12-step program then. Good, okay.
But then
good.
Also, because, of course, we work at Red Hat and we have OpenShift Virtualization, how do you migrate directly from VMware to OpenShift Virtualization? We've got a story for that. So we also realize that you're not going to migrate 10,000 VMs at a time. So we always bring this slide up because I always have that customer that wants to boil the ocean. I was that customer, don't get me wrong. And it's like, I have 30,000 SAP VMs. I want to move all of those tomorrow. Sure, we can help you with that, but how about first, let's start out a little slow and let's go and figure out how this works, and then get from your apps and VMs, getting to cloud, getting to that reducing of operational costs, and getting to that efficiencies where you know what you're doing, it's repeatable, you can do it every time. And then let's talk about 10,000. Let's talk about DevOps. Let's talk about how you're going from VMs to containers. And of course, we're Red Hat. We love telling everybody you're going to do modern application development at all times. But I also came from a place that was a massive SAP shop. And SAP shops, it's going to be VMs till the end of time.
And some of these folks, if you look at the right, I mean, yes, GitOps and Argo CD, those are, the modernization nirvana. But if for people, most of you in here are like, I just need to get off VMware, like today or as quickly as possible, and yes, that's great, but I just want what I have over here running now, right? So people are looking at these things, moving much more quickly, and just give me what I have in VMware with OpenShift Virtualization. So, and a lot of things we'd like to say here is, containers are great, but it's an implementation detail as it relates to Ansible, right? So whatever you connect to, if you're automating VMware with Ansible today, all those constructs and all those things that you're doing in VMware can be done.
It's an artifact.
It's an artifact. So this is great. Getting to the right is absolutely great. That could be a 3, 5, 10-year goal, but I know many of you in here are looking for quick relief. And that's why we think Ansible is the right space to help you there, to get there.
All right. So before we even get into that part, I also want to just make sure we kind of touch really quickly on how do we automate the virtualization application lifecycle? Because once you get migrated to whatever platform you are, whether you're going to EC2, OpenShift Virtualization, how do you actually go through this lifecycle of deploying the VM, going into optimizing the VM, step 2, then getting into, let's get crazy. Nobody actually wants a VM. They want an application layer. So let's go ahead and install the application. I've had this. Wait, has anybody here had that argument with an engineer before? Because I've had that argument so many times. We're like, no, we just deploy Windows VMs. Cool. Does that make our company money? Yeah. No, it doesn't. Yeah. Sorry, one of you may have been that person that had that argument once. Sorry. But then getting into orchestration. So orchestrating everything from DNS and network configuration, storage, because one of the things that Andrius and I have actually been building all of this OpenShift content for the past few weeks with the teams. And one of the things that came up that was really fun was we don't do networking on the OpenShift side. I was like, well, how do you set up VLANs and trunks? And how do you like take a snapshot of what's running on the current VMware environment and migrating that over to your top of rack and the other ones? And they're like, that sounds like Ansible's job.
Or it's like you're not going to use the same hardware. You're gonna treat this as a hardware refresh window. So you're going to have all this new hardware. You're going to have all this new networking gear. You may or may not have new storage. So all of these things have to be orchestrated. And the orchestration piece on this, I think, in the grand scheme of things, the orchestration piece is super important, because once you get migrated, you're going to want to figure out how to do those day two operations as VMware people. Because if you're a VMware person, your world is going to get turned upside down. Or you're managing people with VMware. This is the same modernization with anything that's happening. If you're a network administrator who's been logging into the CLI to routers, you automatically tell them to start automating things, they're just going to get like, whoa. So this is kind of the same space. It's just a different use case.
Is this table stakes? Before you can actually migrate a VM, you actually need to have a platform to migrate said VM to and all of the things in the stack to do it. So the thing, we actually ran a hackathon a few weeks ago internally at Red Hat to just start building all of these things, because we know customers want it, and we want to make it so easy that you just go and get the Ansible content and it gives you everything you need. So these are kind of the steps that we walked through to do this. So like, okay, let's do some discovery. We actually need to know what's running in the VMware environment, what VLANs are configured.
If you know what's in your environment. We talked to a lot of people saying, I have no idea. I haven't touched these VMs in years before I even got here. So
what's a VLAN?
Exactly. So a lot of the left is like day zero. We did this like day zero, day one, day two. And the day zero is you haven't even touched anything, and you're just trying to inventory and figure out what you got. Right. And that's really nice to have with Ansible, is to figure out what you have first, and you can gather facts from those devices and those implementations, and then put those into your inventory and then do something with it.
One of the real fun ones, just starting at the start, is BIOS discovery and configuration. So a lot of people from an OpenShift side, they've never thought of, oh, I probably need to enable virtualization in the BIOS to be able to run virtualization on this cluster. VMware admins, we all know VTD very well, but people that run containers never enable VTD. So if you actually tried to use an OpenShift cluster that doesn't have that enabled, it won't work. Well, it'll be a great day because you'll be calling somebody that actually knows what VTD is and trying to figure that out. But then, okay, so then the next piece is, so we actually have a thing that is built into OpenShift called Migration Toolkit for Virtualization.
It's not the Moon Man MTV, even though it's great. They should do that, like a Moon Man sticker, but...
But what that does is it gives you the ability to go and migrate one VM at a time. And that's good for that small step, but if you're wanting to migrate thousands of VMs, you want to be able to go in, read in an inventory file from your VMware from that discovery you did, pull that in, and then go and start migrating and setting up change windows, migration windows, because we all know that we can't just migrate stuff in the middle of the day while the company's running, because that breaks things. But then going all the way from hardware provisioning and then getting into, of course, actual mission critical, where you're making sure that all your applications are running, they're patched, they're running at the correct versions of whatever libraries they're using. And then just full day two operations.
Yeah, and folding in everything else that you have, whatever is important, ServiceNow, Dynatrace, anything, you name your ISV, the heck is part of your mission critical workflows. Those have to be brought into AAP as well.
By the way, at the end, we're actually going to show videos of all this stuff, so this isn't just cool slideware. We're going to show you.
Yeah, we're going to show you the good stuff. And it's on YouTube, but it just released it, so you probably didn't see it unless
you could show it to your boss.
Unless you're friends with me on LinkedIn, then maybe you did. But none of you guys. I don't have a lot of friends, so it's fine. All right.
So this is what it looks like from the very, very simple standpoint, and a lot of times we'll get into the nitty-gritty details, but this is the image that if you wanted to show it to your executive level, we have VMware. We're going to have Ansible sit in the middle. It's going to use the migration toolkit to call and build all of the things that you need over there. And then, of course, we're not going to you're not going to tell your C-level executives about VLANs and network ports and all that stuff, because they don't care. They just care that you got off of VMware and you're not having to pay that bill at next renewal.
Let me go back. Why does it keep doing that? Do that one. Yeah.
So now here's the challenge, and I think these challenges will probably sound very familiar to a lot of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of people really like VMware.
Yeah.
That's been what we've used for decades. And what we want to do is make sure that we're providing something that feels more VMware-like. Of course, going to a VMware admin and saying, congratulations, you're going to learn Kubernetes, not the best sell. So making sure that we're designing these and getting them deployed so that they're not the way that it's been before. So you're moving much more towards a modernization of things. But a lot of the people that probably deployed these applications may not work there anymore, and you have no idea how they're configured. So that's why the migration toolkit literally takes the existing VM and migrates it across. And then how many people actually know where all of their standards at their company came from or why?
Anybody? Like one hand? Like
Yeah.
someone who's in standards, you
Yeah.
know, right.
Yeah, it's just like that's just how it's always been. I've been told that so many times. So sometimes we just have to migrate the things in the way they are and eventually get to the next steps.
So this is the slide everyone takes a picture of. This is the one that's, I love all the ones. Everyone comes up and does this. This actually gives you a good architectural view of everything. It took us a long time to actually figure this out. But we just talked about day 0, day 1, day 2 just now, right? And this is how it actually looks in visual form. Your starting point here is VMware vSphere. But you also have all this other stuff. Again, don't forget, you have your network, you've got your storage, you've got everything else in that rack or something or in the cloud or all those things. And you still need to migrate those, right? Not just the actual VMs themselves, but everything around that in its halo.
And by the way, these slides are available in the app too, so we
Yes,
uploaded them. So you
I
can
actually
download
uploaded
these
them.
and use them for whatever
Yes,
you need to.
feel free, chop them up.
But kind of just walking through it, and this is actually the way we broke down the Ansible roles as well, because you have your day 0, you have your day 1, your day 2, and we have a pre-migration step in there to build all of the different hardware, etc. So we're really trying to make this easy for everybody. And then of course, there are going to be applications that aren't supported on Vert, or that you just decide, you know what, I'm just going to migrate this to the cloud. So we also have the other alternative hosting options of OpenStack, of Nutanix.
If you're a telco and you got to use OpenStack, fine,
Yeah.
absolutely fine. And you can actually use Ansible to actually help that migration as well. So.
And I've met with multiple people this week that Nutanix is definitely something they're looking at too, and we have a supported Nutanix collection.
We've had supported Nutanix collections for a couple years almost. So, yep.
I requested those when I was a customer, actually.
Yeah. All right. So and then you get into day 2, which actually obviously steady state and that's day 2 operations. So here's you want to get. We're gonna nerd out a little bit. These are the very specific things that, like again, he worked on this hackathon. So we actually did this. You got about 40 people from Red Hat actually banging on Ansible with OpenShift Virtualization, and these were the things that you worked on. So if you want, you can go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, we brought in people that had never touched Ansible. We brought in OpenShift people and made them work on Ansible. We brought Ansible people and made them work on OpenShift. We brought in VMware admins, and we actually had interviews, did a lot of discussion, and
dogs and cats living together. Yes,
it was pretty crazy. But all of those different things that we all as VMware admins know, a lot of people don't necessarily know all the steps that are needed. So all of the configuration that you need from VLAN. My favorite was the one person was like, why do you need DNS? And I was like, do you want to put certs on your machines? Do you want to actually be able to talk to your clusters? There were some really great conversations just because people come from different worlds and don't know this. So it was really great to show people that. But then of course, everybody's favorite, security controls. How do you make sure that you're automating all the security and controls, making sure that you can actually SSH into boxes after they're migrated, and fun things like that?
Yeah, and as much as we love Linux, a lot of the VMs in VMware are Windows, right? So understanding being able to connect to those Windows VMs with WinRM and PowerShell via Ansible has been a huge benefit.
Well, and we're keeping it raw here. So one of the funniest things is that migration toolkit, after it was done and migrated to Windows VM, Ansible actually tried to SSH to the Windows VM. So we had to fix one of our collections. So we found bugs in our own stuff at the same time because, we're a Linux shop, so everything we do is Linux until it's not.
All right, so day 1.
So this is just the migration. So
Yep.
what it really does is this goes and it calls the API for the migration toolkit. It sets up all the plans, the storages, the VLANs, all of the things that you need to know about and configure on the OpenShift Vert side. We have automated all of that for you, and just takes a snapshot, moves it, converts all the things, removes the VMware tools, because we all know that VMware tools causes weird things to happen when you put it on other hypervisors, and puts in all of the tools that it needs, Shuts it down on the vSphere side.
Scheduled and scheduled.
Yep.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, you could schedule. You could do a lot more, more than one at a time, which is nice.
Yep.
See, Open VM tools. Awesome. That's funny. I will have to check the code to be honest, but probably I'll check.
It may just work, but
well, no. Open VM tools is the non-VMware VM tools that I also used when I was a customer. I will follow up on that for you because that's good. See, and this is why we have these conversations.
This is great. And day 2, this is once you're actually migrated, you actually have to run it, right? It's not moving over is one thing, but actually having to actually run your shop.
Actually, this just answered your question because I forgot we built that in there, the very first bullet. So yes, we put it in there, and it actually has now that I look this and see it, it has a case statement to say check for the different ones if it's the VMware tools or the Open VMware tools. So then, I mean, this is kind of the common things that VMware admins know, but from like from an OpenShift standpoint, it's a lot different because it's Kubernetes. And if you know how Kubernetes works, Kubernetes runs on an ephemeral network. So how does that work, and how do you make your VMs actually accessible? Hey, there's an operator for that. So we make sure that the operator actually configures all of that for you. We take the VLANs from the vSphere side and make sure that it's set up as a network access description. Is that what it's called, network?
Yep.
That sounds right. I may be saying that wrong. Anyway,
I think it's
not
right.
recorded.
It's close.
But then it bridges that and makes sure that you actually have access externally of the Kubernetes cluster. And when I was a customer, that was my biggest concern was Kubernetes is an ephemeral network. How do I actually access these machines outside of Kubernetes? We fixed that. But then all of the day 2 stuff that we all know and love. Yep. Virtual machines, patching, OS, applications, auditing, deprovisioning, sometimes. Power off, snapshots, reboots, all of that were actually built into surveys into Ansible, so it's a lot more VMware feeling. So it's not like I'm going and just clicking a job. It pulls up the survey so if I want to go and modify a VM, we've even put it in the same order that it is in VMware. If you click edit VM, it looks exactly the same.
And the team actually doing the migration, like the day 0 and day 1, could absolutely be will most likely be a different team that's actually in charge of the VMs and the things on the VMs themselves. So it's really important that there's some common ground there, and Ansible is that common ground. So how do we do it? So what's the content? Let's show me. Everyone's like, well, show me the money. So this is the stuff.
Yeah. So if you go into Automation Hub, these collections are already there. The content's already created. We're creating what we call validated content for a lot of the things all of the things that we've talked before. So these are the supported collections that are out there. The validated content is there because we know that you are going to have to change it because your environment is going to be different than everybody else's environment. So we've created templates and good getting started playbooks, going guides, but you would definitely have to adjust per your environment.
If you have automated VMware with Ansible, you've probably been using the community.vmware collection. We have the VMware REST collection, which we were hoping when we started this off a couple years ago would replace that. But the API has not gotten better. So unfortunately, your collection is only as good as the API it's being provided to it. So our goal is on the coming soon here at the very bottom is a more comprehensive, is getting that community collection actually brought into an all-in-one.
Yeah. Yes, we actually have a team of like 2 or 3 people now that are taking the community collection and making it a supported collection because you unfortunately have to use both because of the way the VMware collection or VMware API works.
The OpenShift Virtualization collection, that is actually the KubeVirt one. That's the downstream KubeVirt. Yep. So this is actually...
That's the one we had to fix.
Right, and this is the one when you actually can automate the VMs directly. You can automate the virtualization platform as well at the higher level. That's confusing. And then OpenShift as well. So that's the larger one.
Yeah. OpenShift itself, so we use the OpenShift collection for all the operator configuration, stand everything up. Again, that's all completely done for you. You don't have to figure that out.
And the MTV tool is pretty cool because it actually is using the same API. It doesn't have its own separate API, so you can utilize
Kubernetes. Just
Kubernetes. Yeah, one benefit there.
All right.
Okay.
So I wanted to show pictures because everybody wants to see what it looks like. So
At first, this was actually in playbooks, and he's like, no, we're not using playbooks.
yeah, it's like nobody really wants to look.
So
at
we have
them.
these exact slides as playbooks, if you care, but he wanted the visual one, so
because
which I get.
VMware admins are using a graphical user
It's true.
interface. So let's make this easy for folks. So this is what it looks like to create a VM. Looks pretty similar to probably what we're all kind of used to. Uh-oh, somebody left code in here. You didn't fix this? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, maybe not.
Now, this is what it looks like when you actually go in and inspect the facts. So when I was talking about earlier that you go and inspect the facts of what's going on, so this is actually pulling in
Snuck it in
and
there.
inspecting what is going on a virtual machine, which this is going to be a little bit different than what a VMware admin's used to. So that's why one of the reasons why I wanted to put this up there. All right, but rebooting a machine looks the same.
No magic.
No, not the same.
No,
I left your YAML in this one. I left your YAML.
No, okay, you know.
So take a snapshot.
This is
It's
comparing.
actually very, very simple. And again, this was a hackathon, so what we have here now, we've already redone in the past week, where it will be a full just list of all the things, just like in VMware. But if you want to see what the code looks like, it's pretty simple.
So these things are surveys, right? This is part of AEP. If no one's familiar with controller, the GUI actually here is part of built into AEP as part of surveys. So you're building out surveys that actually will do this in the back end.
And a lot of people don't know about that. It's probably one of the most untouted feature of Ansible. Like, why would you make your customers know the things? Just give them the drop downs to select what they need to know. All right, dynamic inventory management. So none of us want to go and figure out where these VMs are and how they are. So we
No.
created the plugin to go and
CSV files, right?
Huh?
CSVs. That's what people use.
CSVs,
Yeah.
Excel spreadsheets.
Exactly.
We all run on Jet databases too. Access.
He just gasped.
So we've created a plugin to go and pull all of the stuff from VMware. That's already been there, but this is for the OpenShift virtualization side. And what's funny is it actually pulls the top level API. We're fixing that right now because I don't think you really care about where the API is.
Okay. So live in quotation marks. It's not, but it's fine. We're going to play a video live. How's that? All right.
Yeah. Because there's nothing worse than watching somebody fumble.
We've
through
never
this.
been in this place before, and we weren't gonna
Yeah.
risk that. So
Did not want to connect through Wi-Fi to an OpenShift
No.
cluster, a VMware cluster, an Ansible and see what happens.
definitely
so anyway,
not. Please no.
Start her up, sir.
Okay. So this first demo is the migration one, and this is actually on YouTube. We released this last week, and this is my good friend Roger Lopez on my team. So this does not have audio. So
Chad gets to
Chad
voiceover.
is going to do a voiceover, not as handsome as Roger, but you get the picture here. Let's see if I can make this happen.
All right. So we always, of course, we start off kind of showing where the migration, the money slide from earlier, and then it's going to go into. We'll start with the automated migration. And this video is slow. It's fine. All right. So
This is
vSphere
before.
console.
This is what you're doing today.
Yep. We've got two VMs, and we're going to go ahead and find those, get the plugin to find them, and we're going to migrate them over. So go over onto the OpenShift side.
This is the virtualization. This is OpenShift Virt right here.
Yep. And we got nothing. We have no network maps. We
Nothing.
have no storage plans. We have none of the things we need. And this is what it looks like to fill
So we're
all of this
timing it.
stuff out manually.
So what if you were doing this manually? So we did this and we sped it up and we put a timer on this thing. So because you're not going to wait.
We cooking
for this.
showed it for you.
We could have showed this whole thing for you if you want, but we sped it up. All the click ups for the win took
2.5 minutes.
Okay. So that's the one. That's doing it manually.
And that's one VM.
That's
to
doing it
configure all the
manually
things
in
for one
OpenShift VM.
Or now, and he did this really slow, which I kind of love. Go in, let's fill out, okay, we're going to call the provider, it's VMware. We're going to name the migration plan because you'll have different plans depending on what you're migrating, different VLANs, etc. And we're telling it to use the storage mapping of storage map, the network mapping of network map. That would probably be like VLAN 160 or whichever VLANs you're using. And then tell it which VMs to migrate. And then we hit the launch button. And 26 seconds later, it kicks off the job, and it goes and creates all of the planned things that you needed for the networking, the storage, and it migrates the VMs.
And it could actually be quicker than that because that was the first time.
Yep. So, and if you look here, it's going in, it's creating the plan, it's getting all the information, and then...
So let's now go back into OpenShift Virt and see, did it do it?
Yep. We've got a provider. We've got the plans.
So we're still using MTV, right?
Yep.
We're just using Ansible to orchestrate it.
Because you're probably going to have, for every VLAN, every different storage, you're going to have a different plan for all of these different things. And then, of course, because it's Kubernetes, you can go and look at the YAML of all the things that are happening there.
Migration as code.
Yep. Now you can just go and click the migration button. Done. And of course, you could also use Ansible to call the migration button too, but we kind of wanted to show it. All right.
Cool.
Now we have another video of the day 2 ops. Any questions, by the way? I feel like I've been, yes?
Are you only doing VMware or is Hyper-V or other platforms?
Just VMware right now, because the main thing that we've heard from customers is they need to get off VMware. I've not had anybody come and tell me they needed to get off of Hyper-V. Okay, you're number 1, customer 1. It actually wouldn't be that hard with PowerShell, but that's a different conversation. All right. Oh, please.
MTV supports OpenStack and Red as well. It doesn't support Hyper-V yet anyway. So does this also work for OpenStack?
So the tool that it's using under the covers is called VirtV2V, and you can migrate, but that is I don't know that MTV does that. I'm not the right person to ask for that, but I can point you to the right person because he was supposed to come and he was like, I got a conflict, so I can put you to the right folks to answer.
Okay, we're gonna get. Can we?
one more question.
Okay, go ahead.
We got time.
I know it's early, but there been any doing roadblocks on migrating out VMware, like RDMs, for instance?
There is definitely things that you need to think about depending on how your storage is configured, how the different things are configured within there. This is really, I would say, for your standard low-hanging fruit. Nothing. I had somebody ask about GPUs the other day, and I was like, yeah, you're gonna have to disconnect your GPU, power it off, have the GPU over there and do mapping. There's things you could do with the plan to absolutely do that. But yeah, when you're starting to do like different non-standard VM configurations, yeah, there's more things you have to think through. But it's totally automatable.
Okay, cool. All right, we're gonna go. This is the second video. So
This is actually my favorite because day 2 is the thing that I feel like is like kind of to me a no-brainer, but it's always that thing that we don't ever get to do because we're too busy putting out other fires. So that's why one of the big things I want to do is like, okay, provisioning VMs. Okay, that's what we do every day. Everybody provisions VMs, but I don't want to provision one VM. Like I want to provision 100 VMs. So here's how you could go in and, bam. Let's kick out a ton. Let's kick out front end multiple web servers, database servers. Here's your app, your dev stage prod environment kicked out, because at least where I came from, nobody ever just asked for one VM. It was I need a 5-stage environment to do.
This is very similar. If you were you saw the SiriusXM demo, they didn't talk about what it's actually doing, but this was very similar what they're doing, right? Very similar video.
So not only did we build VMs, we actually built, configured, installed the application, and then if you remember Parasol from the Ansible
Lots
Fest,
of
now we have
Easter
the whole
eggs.
Parasol website up and running with the front end, the back end, all the different bits and pieces.
There's Nuno. There's Leo. Yeah. There's Scott. Lots of Easter eggs.
So many Easter eggs. And that's it. I mean, very simple, but the ability to go and build a full stack environment, patch it, configure it, all done with Ansible. Super easy.
Yep.
Wow, we burned through that.
We burned through it. So we have lots of learning stuff. I think the best thing for y'all is to come by the booth. We actually have some more videos. We have people that are doing this stuff.
Yeah, we can walk you through every
Yep.
little bit and step of what we just showed you over there. But please, more questions.
Yep. We're good. We're at 34 minutes, so we have about 10 minutes. Oh, the resources, this one? Okay. Yeah, this one we actually, this is more generic, but we're going to have more things soon.
Yeah, there's labs.
Yeah.
Soon, TM.
We actually have, if you are working with the Red Hat reps, there is the Red Hat demo platform. There is an OpenShift Virtualization roadshow lab, and we're actually going to be integrating the AAP operator
Next week.
Next week to do that. So you'll be able to, as part of an OpenShift Virtualization engagement, you'll be able to actually do migrations with AAP as part of that. So if there are any Red Hatters in here, That's coming soon, so it'll be an optional activity. So there's lots of things you can do. And say you can actually do a migration because it's really, really cool. So if you're in a virtualization, I think they have a lab, a 90-minute lab for OpenShift virtualization. Imagine finishing that lab and then going right into doing what we just did here. That's our goal for that one. Any other questions? Sure.
For the Ansible licensing, currently I got everything managed in AAP, and if I migrate into a different environment, how does that affect?
You won't have to pay twice.
Yeah, the question was licensing. You're not going to get you're not going to get double billed at all.
We're actually looking at a couple
Yeah.
different ways. We haven't finished it yet, but you will not be double billed.
Yeah, I mean policy. So our technical, there are ways the means for counting may count that, but we have means to get around that, and contractually that you're fine there.
You can do a soft delete.
You can do it, yeah.
Does MTV do that?
No,
Doesn't.
I don't think so.
So
The question.
They have a booth
So-
for OpenShift. Oh, go ahead.
No, I mean the question was a migration from AHV into.
From Rev into OpenShift. They have a booth that all the Vert engineers are at. You should go ask them that question. I don't know, and nor do I.
They-
I was a huge Rev customer, so I
There are ways. Rev.
Yep. Yep. Maybe this is step 2 that we need to be thinking.
Yeah,
about.
maybe.
Yeah. I will address it on my side, but yeah, if you want an answer today, I could definitely point you to the right people to ask.
Other questions?
To which? Oh, to like a AMI. So there are ways to do that, not with what we just demoed. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, the existing modules that exist are there for that. Absolutely. So the question was, could he migrate to native Azure? And we have the modules to do that in the Ansible Azure collections.
Cool.
Or sorry,
Anything?
Ansible AWS collections, but you can do it for Azure too.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully this was helpful. Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of Summit Fest.
Yep. Appreciate it.